As parents of children who are now in school, you probably like to think back on the time that you've spent with them so far.
One Sunday, McKeon, the largest giant in all of Ireland, got mad for the first time in his life.
Your child needed your support and encouragement in these early years. Now that you have children who are in school, you might be wondering about your changing role as a parent. Many parents wonder how they can continue to support their children's growth as they enter the world of school. And many parents also wonder about exactly what it is their children are learning in reading and in writing. Rest assured that your child still needs your support and encouragement as much now as ever. In fact, children of parents who are in touch with the school and who know what's happening there tend to do much better in school than children of parents who don't. There are a few simple things that you can do to help your child to learn to read and write. 1, listen to your children. Talk to them. Read with your kids and let them read to you. Provide lots of opportunities to write and show your kids that you read and write every day and let them know how much you enjoy these activities.
What can I do to encourage my child to read with expression?
Sometimes when we're helping children read, we concentrate so hard on what they're going to read and the words that they're reading that we don't really think about expression, and it takes a back seat. Expression is very important because it helps a child become fluent and to understand what they read, and most important, it helps them to appreciate what they're reading, and then if they appreciate what they're reading, then they're going to read more, and that's what we want them to do. It's very important to point out the punctuation marks in the text.
Mom, I forgot my lunch. Goodbye, Lucy. Goodbye, Mom. Oops. Mom, I forgot something.
And also quotation marks, they know, when they see quotation marks, they'll know to read as that person is reading. You need to model it for the child and let the child practice. After the child has read the text, it's important to praise what they have done with the text and to really point out the different things that they've done, so they'll do it again.
How can I help my child to understand and make sense of what he reads?
I read the book before working with a child when there's a new book that we're working on, so that I'm familiar with the text and that I can share some of the structure or the language. Yeah, who's that woman?
Cousin Kate.
Yep, she's Cousin Kate. And in this story, she's going to give these socks to 2 guys, and both of their names are Billy. Let's see them. Guess what? There are the Billies. Here's Big Billy and
Small Billy.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be either small or little. I talk about pictures when reading stories with children because it's the best place to get information for the printed word. It's important to look at each picture as we go through so that he has some idea what words are going to be on the page before he actually attempts the reading of the print. When children have a difficult time remembering a specific word, and especially a unique word, there are a variety of ways that we can assist the child in getting that word to belong to his vocabulary. When I come to the end of the story with a child, it's important to ask even 1 or 2 very simple questions about what went on in the story itself, because then I can tell whether or not the child understood what he or she was reading. If I could share 2 or 3 tips with parents when they're reading with their children, the first and most important for me would be to expect that your children will make mistakes or miscues or errors during the reading process. So when that opportunity for learning arises, it's a chance for you to check and see if they're understanding meaning. Have them make a guess at what that word might be, and you can tell right away if your child's understanding what's going on in the text or if they're making a wild guess. You might want to choose a page or 2 throughout the text or the book itself where you cover up the print and ask them to predict ahead of time what the print's going to say by looking at the picture and then having them read the words and ask them, were you right? Is that exactly what the print is saying? And many, many times children will almost predict word for word what the print is saying just by looking at the picture. children will get tired, and they'll begin to struggle with the text and the print. And it's real important at that point in time to just read with the child, read on, and enjoy the remainder of the book so that it's an enjoyable experience and you're sharing it with your son or daughter.
How can I help my child learn about words and letters at home?
Well, one way parents can help their children learn to read is helping them learn the letter names and words. Like when they're writing their name on a birthday cake or their lunch bag, they can actually spell out the name as they're writing and have the child listen while they're writing it, and then have the child read it after them and say the letter names. Besides learning their own name, another really excellent way to teach them about words and letters is having them spell out their family names, like their brother or their sister. And when they're learning another word, you can say then, that starts like your sister's name, Wanda.
Wanda.
That's right, Wanda. And then if they need help, you can say, that's real close, but the letter is. And go on, you're always helping them and making it fun. As you're making a grocery list, too, you can ask the child for what things he thinks or she thinks you need. And as you write it down, have them tell you, what kind of cereal do we need? Oh, we need Cheerios. Oh, that starts with a ch sound. Watch how I write Cheerios. C-H, Cheerios. What does that say? And then have the child read it back. Several articles have come out to say that the most important thing a parent can do to help a child prepare for reading is read to them. And a very natural way to do that is to get alphabet books. You're teaching the letter names while you're reading to them at the same time. Every single one of our libraries have several different copies of alphabet books. And while you're reading, you can have the child say the letters of the alphabet with you. Plus there's a storyline usually, so you have a double emphasis there of seeing the enjoyment of a story and learning letter names.
When we read the same book over and over, my child just memorizes it. What is the value of reading something to the point where she knows it by heart?
It's very natural for kids to come up with favorite books, books that they want to read over and over again. We want to do those same kind of things in our adult life. We have these favorite habits that we get into. And it's very important that they practice those things because that's what makes better readers even better. When the child rereads, they build strength and they build confidence. And that builds success, and that will get them on to reading other material.
If my child is stuck on an unfamiliar word, how can I help?
When a child encounters an unknown word, the first technique that a person should use when reading with the child is to wait about 10 seconds to see if the child can get the word on his or her own. The child may not be vocalizing, and you may not know that he or she is actually working on the word, but wait that 10 seconds and see if she or he can get it. If after waiting for 10 seconds or so and the child makes no attempt on the word, encourage the child to point to the word that he or she is having difficulty on, so you'll know which word it is first of all, and the child can focus on the word. Then encourage the child to reread the sentence quickly from the beginning up to the unknown word, perhaps saying the beginning sound of the word, which will help them get the word when they're reading. If, after focusing the child's attention to the picture on the page, he or she gives a possible but incorrect answer to the written word, you may either give them the word that's written in the text or ask them for another attempt, saying, yes, it could be that word, but what else could it be? After they give another attempt, ask them to read the word in the sentence and see if it does make sense.
How can pointing to the words on a page help my child learn to read?
Pointing to words on a page helps a child to match what he or she is saying out loud to the actual words on the page. This is what's called one-to-one correspondence. Being able to match what you're saying with the words on the page will help you to recognize when what you're saying doesn't match so that you can go back and fix what you need to fix so that it does line up. A child should point when he or she is reading a text that's new or different. Also, it helps to point in reading when you're trying out a new reading strategy. If a child is really tired, I'd really encourage the child to go ahead and use a finger to point. And also, if a book has unusual layout or a structure that's not normal for the kid to encounter, go ahead and have them
Right
point.
up here. Put your finger underneath
You might
this
need to
lid
help
here.
your child find
Now
the
read.
beginning point when you want them to point on the page. The upper left-hand corner is where you start, and you should gently guide his or her hand along the page, matching the words that come out of the child's mouth with what's actually on the page. If the child starts to go off, you might need to guide his or her hand back to where it belongs on the page without making an issue of the error. Also, if the words on the page aren't matching what the child is saying, you might need to have the child stop at that point and ask the child, did you run out of words or did you have too many words? Have them reread, and it's very important to say, make it match.
Mom, you put a crayon in my hands. I'll tell you what color that crayon is.
This is a great sign that the child is becoming an independent thinker and knows what strategies will help him to continue in his reading.
How can I help my child to use the pictures in reading?
For years prior to your child entering school, you enjoyed the world of books together. Your daughter or son would ask you to read a favorite story, and as you read those familiar pages, word after word, they would study the pictures to get the meaning from the book. Now that your child is in school and is learning to read, they can continue to use these pictures to help them.
Toby painted the floor and the wall. And the cupboard.
Many of you may be tempted to cover up pictures in a book, wanting your child to really be able to read those words like you understand them. The pictures are going to help them, and you really want to draw their attention to the pictures in the book if they're looking for a word that they're unsure of. They will look at the picture as well as checking their visual, finding out if it really makes sense for them. A tremendous help. You definitely want to have the child make sense out of the stories that they're reading, and often in primary books, pictures will help them.
How can I help my child without words during reading?
After you've chosen a book that's at the right level for your child, one that's not too easy, one that's not too hard, they're going to need to have strategies for identifying words that they don't instantly recognize. When your child does encounter a word that they cannot immediately recognize, it's important for them to stop and think about what would make sense within that particular story. Next, have him check the picture if there is one. And then he should reread the sentence up to the unknown word, saying the sound of the first letter in the word. And if your child is successful in identifying the word, then he should continue on with the rest of the story. If your child is unsuccessful, then he may want to try sounding the word out. Did that make sense? Winked? No. In the sentence, the boy was kind to his sister. If the unknown word was kind, the child would need to keep in mind what would a boy be. Remembering reading needs to always make sense. So the boy was something. Next, the child should sound the first letter and then sound the second letter and blend those two sounds together. That means to say the sounds quickly together. And many children find it helpful to cover up the letters that they're not using and just focus in on the letters that they are using. Once the child has successfully identified the unknown word, it's essential that they go back to the start and reread the sentence with that new word in there. The boy was kind to his sister. Rereading helps to ensure that the meaning of the story is maintained. When we're teaching kids strategies, we're teaching them ways to take the tools that they do have, the individual letter sounds and the individual words, and to put them together to be able to read books.
We hope that we've helped to make you feel more comfortable in your role as parents of developing readers. You deserve a lot of credit for your efforts. You can feel good about reading with your children every day and having them read to you because children love hearing stories. It's also great for them to hear all different kinds of stories. Reading with you, kids learn about the parts of the book and they hear the flow of book language. They also get to practice it themselves. Kids learn about the way that the story comes out in writing, and best of all, kids love the closeness with their parents. As one of Juneau's reading teachers says, if I read with you once in a while, it would be like giving you a piece of string. You would be able to break it. I could double up the string, and that would be like reading with you a little more often. You could still break the string. But if I read with you every day, and your teachers in school read with you every day, that would be like giving you the gift of a piece of stout rope made of many different fibers woven all together. That would be a habit that could not be broken. And that's the gift that you give your kids when you read with them every day. It's a gift that will not be broken.
Okay, and each wolf has a different sound, so remember that. So you guys try to have your own sound. 50 yards away, the oldest male was pacing nervously. Back and forth he went.
Do you know why they put the young and the sick in the middle?
Why?
Can you figure out why, Stephanie?
Probably because they don't want them to get hurt themselves.
Oh, to protect them maybe.
Off the snow that had piled up on.
This giant in all of Ireland got mad for the first time in his life. He sat under his apple tree and said, when St. Patrick came to Ireland, he chased out all the snakes. He chased out all. No, this is the giant. This is St. Patrick.
Alaska's 3 bears.
This one you want to read?
What?
Once upon a time there were 3 bears. A big nose with his paw while stalking the seal. Sometimes he'll stand motionless over a seal's breeding hole for 2 days, waiting for the seal to surface, known as Alaska. One by one they came to a vast, empty delta, and it was there that they met each other for the first time.